Hello and Happy New Year, everyone! Yeah, I know, it's not January 1st, but I did plan this video to be up this month, so I'd like to say I'm right on time. But let's beat the dead horse here. 2020 was... an ordeal. But if that dumpster fire of a year was good for anything, it's the sheer number of fantastic games that were released that helped us get through it. We had some hidden gems, some pleasant surprises, obvious games that we knew were going to be good, and some hyped up bugfest that is currently... No. You know what? No. That's not on this video. Anyways, with that being the year we've been mostly stuck inside, I wanted to celebrate those games with you all by telling you my personal top 15 games of 2020. My name's Ty, and in the words of Harmon Smith, let's dance.
Why don't you say whatever speech you got rehearsed? Get this over with.
Well said, Joel. So go on, leave your dislike and angry comment about how the game ruined your life or whatever, and just move along. We both got better things to do than this, wouldn't you agree? Joel may not have been able to rush his death, but I sure as hell can rush unnecessary negativity. With that being said, The Last of Us Part 2 is Naughty Dog's highly anticipated and currently overhated sequel to their 2013 smash hit. And you know what? It's a damn fine game at that. I know there was a lot of crunch discourse, and that's not good at all. I can go an entire separate video about how much I hate necessary crunch in the game industry, but that is not this video. The cutscenes are beautifully acted. The gunplay, while relatively unchanged from the first game, is more fine-tuned that it makes firefights more satisfying. Improved enemy AI, come on, that is a godsend from the first game. Who doesn't like an action game or even a survival horror game where you have to relocate yourself because you want to play it a little more stealthily? Or maybe think of an alternate way to take care of your adversaries. Like, I remember the first time when both clickers and wolf soldiers were in the same area, and I said, what if I threw this bottle at them? And surely enough, the clickers attacked them. It was a great setup. I loved that. And not to mention, this game has some genuinely good scares. I've screamed more times in my own personal playthrough. It even had one of the best build-ups to an insanely tense boss battle that puts all these bloater encounters I've had in the first game, and even this game, to shame. Just, the overall game is fantastic. I can go on for the positives. Yes, it does have flaws. All games do. I really did not like the pacing for this game, especially in Abby's half of the game. But I feel like if you just look past the hate and the discourse, you might actually have a good time. Give The Last of Us Part 2 a fair chance if you haven't. It may not deserve Game of the Year, but it does deserve some of your time at least. Plus, it has a helium mode, so if you want a good laugh and melt all the tension away, you'll like that. I sure did.
Please don't shoot. Joel, please get up.
Mediatonic's latest game, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, was an interesting release this year for me. You see, I'm not a big fan of Battle Royale games, but yet I'm also a big fan of platformer games, as well as wacky game shows like Wipeout, or pretty much anything from Japan. So when I saw these dopey little bean dudes stumbling around in this new game show themed Battle Royale platformer, oh, you bet your ass I was sold. I played this game non-stop in its August release, when I didn't get time out, that is. But I was just so much in love with the colorful visuals, the banging soundtrack, and most importantly, the amazing costumes that you can earn using crowns from either winning or just leveling up in your battle pass each season. These costumes are just so appealing, especially when they do collab costumes like the Enter the Gungeon one you see here on my little bean guy. I used to complain that the game didn't have enough minigames to justify its $20 price tag, but with the game now in its third season as of December, and with more content on the way in future seasons, I can confidently say you'll get your money's worth. Just make sure you play with some friends, it adds to the fun, and it makes team games a lot more bearable. Well, unless you get tail tag.
Oh no.
No!
Oh no!
Okay, stop typing. I know what you're doing, and I know what you're thinking. And I swear it's not on the spot as a joke to a certain organization. You trust me? Alright? Cool. So, Kingdom Hearts Melody and Memory is a rhythm game celebrating the music of the Kingdom Hearts series through a glorified story recap in Kairi's memories in World Tour mode. That is until it starts setting up the stage for a future game, because we all know by now that every single game in this franchise is canon. Well, except that one. There are 140 songs to play throughout 3 different difficulties. There's Beginner, Standard, and Proud. Sorry folks, no critical mode here. They're all spread out between 3 different modes of play as you take control of one of the game's 4 iconic teams of the series. There's Field Battle, where you fight Heartless to the rhythm, Event Stages, where you glide upon a track as a movie event plays out in relation to the song chosen, and my favorite, Boss Battles. That's right, this game has some boss battles. Here, you fight a boss to the track. Go figure, right? Every note you hit is an attack on your opponent until you reach a dark zone. Then you're put on the defensive as every note now becomes a chance to avoid a powerful attack. And whether you avoid all damage or take a few hits depends on how well you're graded at the end of each dark zone. It's honestly like a modern day Guitar Man, and that just fills a U1 shaped hole deep inside of my heart. Nonetheless, the gameplay is simple enough that anyone can pick up and play on a casual level, but those looking for a challenge, like myself, will find it in Proud mode, as it will really test your reflexes and sense of rhythm. There's also a co-op mode where you can play with a friend. I'm, kind of a lonely Keyblade warrior, so there's nothing there for me.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
But there's also a versus mode where you can take your skills online or against CPU to see who is the best as you screw each other over with the trick system. And, oh boy, if RNG is not in your favor there like it wasn't with me, the worst combo of tricks can get you a loss. There's plenty to love in this game, whether you're a fan of the series or just a fan of rhythm games. So grab a sitar, summon some water demons, and just dance! Water dance! I'm sorry, that was a bad one. But you'll have a good time here. Oh, and important announcement, this game has One-Winged Angel and Twister from The World Ends With You. So we got one of the best JRPGs from Square Enix represented, and we got a Sephiroth boss fight. Go figure. Damn, your move, Kingdom Hearts 3. I do like Kingdom Hearts 3, by the way. Oh, it's about time indeed. That's right, folks. Crash Bandicoot is back thanks to developer Toys for Bob, taking over for Naughty Dog on a new adventure after 22 years of no games. Because, you know, there wasn't any games between the year 1998 and 2020, especially ones of varying quality, and definitely not a previous 4th game. I don't know what it would have been called. And it's about time now. It's Crash 4, it's about time. That's the 4th game. This is no doubt my favorite entry in the series by far. The gameplay is familiar to the entire core series, but it tosses in some brand new platforming mechanics thanks to the quantum masks that you can find throughout the game. There's like 4 of them, and they provide a really nice little temporary power-up boost. I enjoy these things. The controls are tight and responsive, which makes for really satisfying platforming. The level design is also probably one of the most appealing things I've seen in a platformer in years, and the animation is probably some of the bounciest and fluid I've seen in a Crash Bandicoot game. I mean, look at some of these movements. This is breathtaking. I never thought I would ever see Crash Bandicoot move like this in this day. It feels like watching a cartoon. And you know what? I kind of want a Crash Bandicoot cartoon right now. The game also has about 5 playable characters. Yeah, 5. Well, technically it's 4 if you want to put Crash and Coco into the same category. But you got Crash, Coco, Dr. Cortex, an alternate dimension Tawna, and even now ex-villain but also restaurant owner Dingo Dial, all at your disposal. And they all kind of have their own playstyle. Like Cortex has like this little ray gun that turns enemies into platforms, be it like solid platforms or bouncy ones. Dingo Dial traded in his flamethrower for a nice vacuum pack, and Tawna's got a grappling hook and some badass kicks. And Crash and Coco, well, yeah, it's Crash and Coco. They spin, they jump, they do everything. They all feel unique, but yet they're still similar and follow the core gameplay, and that is just how you make multiple characters work in a platformer. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, while the $60 price tag may be a bit off-putting for some, I guarantee you're going to be getting your money's worth. It's a lot of fun to play. Just make sure you're playing it casually. If you got some balls of steel, go for it. Go for 106%. Unless you like doing insane time trials or even the insanely perfect relics, don't get me started on those. You're probably going to tear your hair out, but there are still plenty of things to do, like the flashback tapes and other challenging things. If you're a casual player, just don't go for the bonus stuff. You'll thank me and yourself and your sanity later. Seriously, trust me, because there's nothing worse than trying to go for an insanely perfect relic, which demands you to collect 80% of the Wumpa Fruit, break every box, and not die a single time. And there's nothing more soul-crushing than getting to the end of a long level, because these levels do get long towards endgame, and falling into a pit, or mistiming your jump and jumping right into an enemy's attack, and dying because you didn't have an Aku Aku to protect you. And the most horrifying thing ever, making it through all of that and missing 1, 2, or any small single number digit of boxes, because these box locations are dickish. And you know what? If I have to redo another long ass level because of this shit, I am going to. Now, this was one of those games I bought solely on Twitter Buzz, and you know what? I'm glad I did. This game released pretty close to Cyberpunk 2077's 21-day delay, so it was nice getting that aesthetic fix in a nice indie game a little bit sooner. And a fix that wasn't a low-performing buggy mess on consoles, right? In this video, you said this. In Ghost Runner, you play as one of the last surviving Ghost Runners, a cybernetically enhanced super soldier with a knack for swiftly killing their targets, as he goes on a mission to kill the Keymaster Mara after her failed attempt to claim your life. What she did claim in your initial defeat, however, was your memory, and you'll slowly regain your bearings on the status of the world around you through the chiming in of your two companions over your radio comms. There's Zoe, the sole survivor of a group known as the Climbers, and the Architect, an AI activated within your programming that helps you relearn your abilities. A bit of a straightforward dystopian story. As you go through the mission, you'll dash, jump, slide, deflect, and slice through various enemies as you go through various challenging kill rooms with the occasional platforming parkour puzzle. You'll also die. A lot. I did at least. But yes, this is one of those one-hit kill games similar to the likes of Hotline Miami and Katana Zero. But this time you're a cool cyborg samurai with dishonored powers. The game isn't exactly too long, but it's certainly a lot of fun to play over and over as you experiment with your abilities and quickly plan out your attack strategies. Do you flank from an enemy blind spot and dash your way towards another before alerting anyone else? Maybe you're the type to test your reflexes as you make use of your entire kit for the most optimal run. There are so many ways to play this game and manages to keep the fast pace going, even in the boss fights. Except this one. This one can go fuck itself. Despite some glitches and the camera not being the best sometimes, I highly recommend you don't sleep on this one if it sounds like your kind of thing. Now here's another game I learned about through Twitter Buzz. Going Under is the first game released by indie studio Aggro Crab. And man, talk about your strong first impressions. This is a roguelike dungeon crawler with probably one of the most relatable stories of the current generation. As Jackie, a new unpaid intern at cubicle-owned company Fizzle, you aim to work in her field of marketing in order to gain a paid position in the company one day, but instead of managing social media accounts to advertise the products and whatnot, she is tasked with retrieving mysterious relics from the 3 dungeons below the company's floor. There's Joblin, an office workplace where various goblins known as, well, Joblins are working job after job as fast as possible in order to make a living. Stixcoin, a company that doubles as a mine shaft where the various skeletal employees toil away at mining cryptocurrency because that's totally going to be the next big thing and render the dollar obsolete. Any day now, right? And last, there's Winky Dink, a dating app company where the various demon residents try to find their special someone by only communicating with emojis. You'll fight your way through these dungeons by using the various objects and office supplies lying around the room as weapons, just to have that little glimmer of hope that you'll ascend the corporate ladder despite getting little to no appreciation from the higher ups. What? I'm not working anything out with this. The gameplay is simple to pick up and get the hang of, as each run has you discovering new buffs that you can endorse to give you an edge on your runs, and you can even accept side quests from your colorful cast of coworkers to not only learn more about them, thus growing a bit closer to them, but you can also have them mentor you, where that will provide an edge in your time in the dungeons, be it being able to steal a random item from the shops or being able to use an app more than once. The possibilities are endless and it'll keep you coming back for more, and that's what you need in a good game these days. Replayability. Okay, I gotta be honest. I wasn't real excited for this one when Nintendo suddenly announced it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the original Hyrule Warriors, and Dynasty Warriors 9 left a real bad taste in my mouth. But after playing the demo, I saw a tremendous improvement in care with how Megaforce handled the gameplay in order to translate as much of the Breath of the Wild battle mechanics into a Musou format. That was more than enough to convince me to head over to my nearest GameStop and put down a pre-order. Needless to say, I wasn't disappointed in the game at all. Without going into spoilers, which is something I'm basically trying to do with all the games on my list, you are effectively playing out the events of the champion of Hyrule, Link, Daruk, Mipha, Urbosa, and Rivali, did they band together with Princess Zelda and Impa to prevent the resurrection of Calamity Ganon, which, we already know doesn't end well for them. At all. But turns out a little time-traveling guardian gets involved somehow and leaves you wondering how they're going to explain away this poor little egg dude. The mystery. While it's pretty Musou standard mission structure with capturing outposts and protecting your captains, it does have a lot of Zelda flavoring to it, like way more than the original Hyrule Warriors. You can find hidden Koroks in each of the game's 20 main missions, use the various abilities programmed into the Sheikah slate, dodge at the last minute to perform a flurry rush, which is always very crucial if you want to get those critical hits, and my favorite thing to do as any character with a shield, deflect enemy attacks to stun them briefly. And yes, dear viewer, that includes the laser beams of the intimidating Guardians. Well, they're not so intimidating anymore in this game, I'll tell you that. One good deflect would make them your bitch, just like in Breath of the Wild, and it's still so satisfying to pull off with the slow motion and everything. There are plenty of characters to play throughout the game, including some secret characters, each with their own playstyle to suit your personal needs, and that just adds to the fun and gave me a lot more reason to keep playing the game. It's a little repetitive with some missions, which, it's a Musou game. That kind of comes with the territory in my opinion. But the story will be the reason that you'll be hooked and wanting more, even if the frame rate does happen to drop a bit at some points here and there, especially when there's a lot of enemies on the screen and you're just going to wipe them out with a special move. That aside, it finally looks like Musou games are starting to be good again, and I'm all for it. Deadly Premonition is probably one of my favorite hidden gem games of all time. It's weird, a little rough around the edges, and most importantly, it's very charming. So when I learned that a Switch exclusive prequel sequel game was announced in a 2019 Nintendo Direct, needless to say, I thought the planets had aligned because this was nothing short of a miracle. I flipped my shit in the middle of the sales floor in GameStop as I watched the announcement with my coworker, but did it live up to my expectations? Well, it's on this list, ain't it? Now, in the case of it being both a prequel and a sequel, Deadly Premonition takes place in effectively two different points of time. There's the sequel portion, which takes place in 2019, about 3 years after the Greenville case from the first game, and the prequel portion that takes place in 2005. In 2019, Boston, Massachusetts, you play as an FBI special agent, Aaliyah Davis, and her pizza-obsessed partner, Simon Jones, as they question the sickly former FBI agent Francis Zach Morgan on the suspicion of his involvement in the Lise Clarkson murder case from 14 years ago, after recovering her body, as well as his ties to the drug Sang Rouge and the recent disappearance of somebody named Patricia Clarkson. It's basically more of a point-and-click mystery in these segments, and admittedly, it's not exactly the game's strongest moment, though I do happen to have a soft spot for them on the account of Aaliyah, Simon, and Zach all play off of each other very well with their banter, along with the fact that it reminds me of one of Swery's previous mystery adventure games, D4, Dark Dreams Don't Die. Maybe we won't get that season 2. I mean, I can hope, right? Now, the real meat of the game comes from the 2005 segment set in Le Carre, Louisiana, where you take control of everyone's favorite oddball agent, Francis York Morgan, as it showcased his investigation into the initial case of ritual-like murders in the production of Sang Rouge, all surrounding the Clarkson family bloodline. This segment is the familiar open world that we've come to love from the first game. You got plenty of side quests to take care of, crime scene investigations, profiling, and a cast of wacky characters that are all memorable.
I'm simply exercising my freedom. And as my fellow American, you need to respect my freedom. Yeah.
Everything that screams Deadly Premonition is there, including the one plot quest that drags on a little bit too long.
The Lord! The Lord! Hunger!
The Lord hungers. The Lord hungers. The Lord hungers.
Deadly Premonition 2 is still as weirdly charming and full of choppy flow frame rates as the cult classic original. While it is very lacking on the scare factor compared to the first game, it does make up for it in so many other ways. So if you like mystery games with an amazing voice cast and some solid gameplay all packed into a world you can truly get lost in, pick this game up whenever you can. Just make sure you play the first game beforehand. You're going to want to have the whole picture of the mystery surrounding the red tree. And man, is that mystery a doozy.
This case can go fuck itself.
Also, York says trans rights.
But just remember this. Person's birthplace, nature, race, and physical features have no bearing on their value as a human being. We're always free, and we should respect each other just the way we are. So you shouldn't feel a need to hate Lena for no reason, no matter what the people around you say. You can't let them control you. Sometimes things like common sense and decency can end up deeply hurting other people. I sincerely hope you don't forget that.
Now this was a game I was super hyped for when I first saw its trailer in 2019. And after streaming it live on this channel, I can say that this was probably one of the most refreshing experiences in my life. Metronomic's No Straight Roads appeals every single part of me as a music lover. I just loved how the action and attacks from the various NSR, security bots, and members themselves are tied strictly to the rhythm of the music. It made me see the amazing soundtrack as so much more than just background music, because it required me to listen closely. Are they attacking on the offbeat, directly on beat to the synth drums? There are so many factors at play as you go on your quest at starting a rock revolution, and it just makes the main gameplay easy to pick up but very difficult to master. And don't get me started on Perfect Parry mode. That mode is just insane. And then there's the game's story, which manages to strike a good balance between comedic in one fight,
Billions and billions and trillions.
bittersweet in another, and even downright heartbreaking and relatable.
Fire, all for naught.
Please, listen.
It is over. 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 It is over.
Eve, you're not alone.
Stay away! Your tongue is poison.
Eve, you don't need anybody else to complete you. You complete yourself.
Right. I should probably summarize the basic gist of NSR. Alright, so you play as Mayday and Zoot, close friends and members of their band Bunk Bed Junction, or B2J for short, as they stage a rock revolution in Vinyl City after the unjust banning of rock by NSR CEO Tatiana, a woman hell-bent on claiming EDM is the future for the city's energy crisis. Think like a music version of Monsters, Inc. And that's basically it. Rock versus EDM. There is also a 3-part side story involving Zoot's rivalry with older brother DK West, where they enter an
Rap battle.
I said I don't have time to play.
where it's like a twin-stick version of Guitar Hero, where the objective is to avoid the notes rather than hit them. It's optional after the first encounter, but I recommend doing so because it's pretty enjoyable to go through. I would recommend just playing it with a friend in 2-player mode if you can, because encounters 2 and 3 are...
In fact, forget this, forget you. You're no brother of mine.
To tell of my real glory, you're making me wonder. Are you telling the truth? Well, I want to talk with you. I want to ask you things.
that. It's doable alone too, it just takes practice. But, oh man, this is just a really good brawler type game, like, or what I call it, an action adventure. I loved everything about it, the visuals, the gameplay. It was just so much fun, and it's worth a play. It has so much charm and one of the most catchiest soundtracks and deserves attention. The devs even released a free Christmas update last month that does so much more than just remix the music. I mean, look at this. My jaw was on the floor seeing this. This is above and beyond. I can't believe it. Metronomic put a lot of love into this game, so please show them some love in return. Holy shit. There is so much I would love to say about this game, but unfortunately, to speak in the way I want to speak about this game would spoil everything. So, I'm just gonna try and keep this as, spoiler-free as possible without giving too much away. But, Final Fantasy VII Remake is amazing. I mean, obviously, of course, it's Final Fantasy VII. Everyone loves that game, and I think the remake does so many good things with the original story that I'm excited for parts 2 and onwards. But let me try to talk about it a little bit more. This is a remake that effectively takes the entire Midgar arc of the PS1 original, which was about 4 hours. At least it was 4 hours for me when I played it on the Switch port with, the turbo mode and all that other stuff, because I'm way too impatient to play at natural speed. But it takes those 4 hours and blows it up into 40, and within those 40 hours you have more fleshed out personalities of the members of Avalanche, foreshadowed events through Cloud's headaches, and of course, because it's Final Fantasy VII, we got the man, the legend, the most recent DLC character for Smash Bros. Now, as I said, there's more about the story that I really want to talk about, but that is in major spoiler territory. Do everything in your power to play this game blind. So I'm going to abridge it in simple terms, going further. So, Cloud is an ex-soldier mercenary hired by Avalanche, an eco-terrorist group consisting of Barrett, Jesse, Biggs, Wedge, and Cloud's childhood friend Tifa to help them bomb various Mako reactors within the sectors of Midgar, all owned and ran by the evil Shinra Corporation. Now why? Because Mako is the lifeblood of the planet, and you know what? I'll just let Barrett say this part.
Mako is the lifeblood of our world. The planet bleeds green like you and me bleed red. The hell you think's gonna happen when it's all gone, huh? Answer me! You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the planet crying out in pain? I know you can!
There we go. Eventually, after a successful mission, Cloud runs into local flower girl Aerith, who happens to be wanted by Shinra for some reason, and JRPG hijinks ensue. I think that's pretty much basic enough. Let's face it, you know the story. A lot of people do know Final Fantasy VII's basic story. If you haven't, I highly recommend playing the original and before going into the remake. I cannot stress that enough. What is different from the original, however, is not only fully orchestrated music, like from the ground up. Like, this is brand new. They didn't just replay the tracks from the original PS1. This is all redone music, and it sounds gorgeous. But we also have different combat, because we live in a post-Final Fantasy 15 world. Instead of a turn-based RPG, it is now a hack-and-slash action-adventure game with some RPG elements, including the ATB bar, which is still there from Final Fantasy. It plays very similar to how Final Fantasy 15 played, but with a bit more polish and proper execution, and that's not to knock on 15, as I do find that game very enjoyable as well. The ATB bar, which slowly fills during battle, but also fills faster as you attack your various enemies, the ATB bar will allow you to use a variety of special attacks, cast magic, or even summon various Final Fantasy staples such as Ifrit or even the fat chocobo. Like, look at this chonky guy, I love him! Meanwhile, you can also use it to string together a nice combo of attacks and abilities together, and it's very satisfying to do that it makes battles fast and fun as you figure out exactly how to take care of your opponent as efficiently as possible. If Cloud says use thunder magic, use thunder magic. Trust me, you won't regret it. Some will be weak to magic to become staggered easier. Others have shields forcing you to attack from behind. The variety of enemies is truly impressive for a game like this, and I have to give Square Enix a lot of props for their hard work on this game as well. And one other thing, they really know how to make one rethink about the meaning of the word remake. Okay, that's as close of a spoiler I will say. And hey, if you happen to be a little bit bitter that this is only part 1 and not just a full remake beginning to end of the original PS1 classic, I mean, that's valid. Try taking it up a Square, but I'm pretty sure Square Enix will look at you and just say this.
Like I give a shit.
But what is important is that we talk to Square about making this moment happen in a future part. Please? If you're like me, you most likely don't have a PS5 and are currently stuck playing Demon's Souls on PS3 with absolutely no online features and some ugly-ass 11-year-old graphics. But fret not. Some of the hot consoles launch titles were also released on PS4, complete with free upgrades for when you eventually bring home your own little router. One of those titles was Spider-Man Miles Morales, Insomniac's standalone follow-up to 2018 Spider-Man. Taking place a year after 2018 Spidey story and DLC campaigns, Peter Parker, now complete with his Tom Hollandification, no I'm still not used to it, has decided to join MJ on an overseas trip to Symkaria for a scoop she's on for the Daily Bugle to help her with taking some photos. Very nice couple stuff, right? With him going to be away from New York for a short period of time, he entrusts his Spidey-in-training Miles Morales with the heavy responsibility of defending the city in his absence. In his time trying to figure out how he'd be his own Spider-Man, Miles gets wrapped up in a large plot surrounding Simon Krieger's company, Roxxon, as long as with a rival gang known as the Underground and an experimental energy format aiming to be deployed throughout New York known as New Form. Now this might be a hot take, but I genuinely think the story was a lot better compared to 2018 Spidey. Both had great pacing, writing, voice work, and stunning action sequence balanced with emotional moments that'll either tug at your heartstrings or jerk at your tear ducts. But something about Miles' story just felt more relatable to me that it helped me get more immersed with his struggle. As for the gameplay, it's still as responsive and fluid as its predecessor, with a few new tricks exclusive to Miles. Bop baddies, dodge various attacks, web swing, use your various gadgets at your disposal, and so forth. But what about the new tricks exclusive to Miles that I mentioned? Well, there's camouflage, which is helpful for quick getaways in order to return to a stealthier position. And then there's Miles' iconic Venom powers, a variety of bioelectrical moves that provide new ways to combat criminals and bosses. You have moves such as Venom Punch, Venom Jump, Venom Slam to name a few, that all work wonders for crowd control or just making some one-on-one fights with enemies like brutes or even the initial fight against Rhino a bit easier. The game was a blast to play, and I was laughing at some moments with the game's snappy style of humor from beginning to end, with a decent handful of side activities as well to further improve your experience as you level up, as you unlock more suits, Bodega Cat for life, along with the mods that you can use, that it just makes the $50 price tag and, very worth it, despite a shorter story. The game is about, 15 hours long if I'm correct? It's definitely shorter than the original game, but seriously, play this game. It's so good. Even if whether you got a PS4 or you were lucky enough to get a PS5, you owe it to yourself. So put on the mask and take that leap of faith once more. This time, not to be a greater Spider-Man, but to stand out and be your own. Man, oh man, did Sucker Punch put out a hell of a banger with this one. Ghost of Tsushima was the one game that I kept seeing at E3 during my stream parties and going, okay, it's about samurai in feudal Japan, but where's the gameplay? Is this purely a cinematic experience type of game? And then just pure confusion in 2018 when Sony gave us the glory of Flute Guy with some cinematically shot gameplay. It wasn't until a few months upon release that it finally clicked that this was an open-world samurai action game, and I was sold on it hard. You are Jin Sakai, the last surviving samurai of Clan Sakai who is saved by thief Yuna after a dramatic opening clash with the Mongolian army upon the shores of Komodo Beach. This dramatic battle, however, left all his fellow samurai from other various clans slain, as well as resulting in Jin's uncle, Lord Shimura, being captured by Khotun Khan. In hopes of stopping the Mongol invasion and returning peace to the island of Tsushima, Jin teams up with Yuna and various other allies you'll meet along the way to stage a rescue mission of Lord Shimura and gain reinforcements from the Shogun on the mainland. However, Jin quickly learns that he can't do this abiding by the Bushido code he was raised upon, and resorts to less honorable methods, such as attacking from the shadows, using various tools such as bombs, and even poisoning through a blow dart in order to give him a much-needed advantage. These actions eventually earn him the title of the Ghost, which brings relief to the various citizens of Tsushima. However, this also strikes fear into them, and not just your enemies, as your methods are seen as barbaric, like you were some sort of demon, which you'll see reflected as you proceed throughout the story. Now, it's no joke when I say that Tsushima is probably one of the most visually pleasing games I've played all of 2020. I mean, there's a reason why it's my outro shot for some of my streams. It's also one of the best, if not the best, samurai action game that I played, even beating out From Software's Sekiro or Koei Tecmo's Nioh. The swordplay and reliance of parrying certain attacks is very responsive that the lack of a lock-on feature is a bit of a non-issue. The tools at your disposal are fun to use and add variety in your attack strategy, and can even turn the tide of battle when you feel yourself cornered. And your bow is probably the most expertly crafted projectile experience in the game, complete with proper arrow drop-off, thus requiring you to aim a bit higher the further you are away from your target, just to get that perfect headshot, rather than just the usual point and shoot like most games. Last, but certainly not least, there's the stances, which have their own strengths and weaknesses when trying to stagger your opponent. You have one stance to combat sword users, one for spears, one for shield enemies, and one for large brutes. Then there's also the ghost stance, which allows you to get 3 instant kills on your enemies in brutal fashion, but you can only use this after successfully killing 5 enemies without taking damage or slaughtering a Mongol general whilst hidden. And man, let me just say, it's so satisfying to pull this move off. The enemies backing away from you out of terror, the way the screen turns black and white only to flash red with each kill, and the way Jin menacingly approaches them, at least until you run, that is. It's a genuine reward of skill and reflex. And speaking of that, there is also something called standoffs, which is honestly the most authentic mechanic in a samurai game, hands down. Seriously, I want more samurai games to do this. You know what? I think Sucker Punch nailed it. This is definitely one of their best games of the previous console generation, and with new content such as New Game Plus, and even a co-op multiplayer mode with its own story, all given for free. Well, I think it would bring great dishonor to your clan for not picking this one up. Hey folks! You remember Octopath Traveler? Yeah! Remember when you thought all 8 heroes with separate stories were gonna come together and play off one another as they connect and interweave? Oh, yeah! Now, what about the pure disappointment you felt when you didn't get that and the characters barely even talked to one another?
It's hot.
Man, I bet you really want a game that delivered on that, huh?
Yes.
Oh man. Well, hold Vanillaware's beer, because they got you with their latest work of art, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Now, I will admit, I've only played about 4 or 5 hours into this game upon writing this list, but I need to state this fact. I don't really care for mecha anything, with a few exceptions, nor do I really like RTS games. I know, that's a hot take, right? But you see, a mecha-based RTS game that's also a narrative adventure visual novel experience, and yet it makes it into my top 3 games of 2020, even though I've only played 4 or 5 hours of the game total before even writing this. Come on, that has to say something. It's gotta speak volumes for me. Like, I stumbled there because I'm just speechless at how much this game was just, it just clicked with me. I love everything about this game. Everything has to offer. The well-written sci-fi plot involving 13 characters, each with their own unique personalities, motivations, and end goals as they deal with time travel, dimension hopping, little robot dudes, the men in black, and preventing total timeline annihilation by kaiju. Then there's the stellar voice cast that gives these characters life. Say what you want about dubs, but I really love some of the lines and the delivery from this cast. and the vibrant and beautiful animations that vanilla is known for. Like, look at some of these shots. It's absolutely breathtaking with how beautiful this game looks, even in the moments where the game has scenes in the drearier conditions of life, like rainfall or even a bleak future with destruction everywhere. And just most importantly with this game, there's the fact that the plot isn't linear and you're learning bits and pieces of the overall story between each character's personal stories, and your choices will be accurately reflected in another character's stories if they happen to have crossed paths when their stories inevitably connect. It's actually quite similar to how the Zero Escape games had the branching paths that you can jump between to make different choices in order to discover other endings. It's just a really great mechanic and gives these characters the chance to meet, interact, and provide insight into how their respective relationships work. I also want to bring attention to the game's thought cloud system, which allows you to see characters' personal thoughts on a particular item, a person of interest, or a situation, which only fleshes out each character and their initial involvement even more. This is how a game with multiple protagonists should be done. Octopath was really a cool concept, but I'm sorry, 13 Sentinels just nails the execution in every possible way, especially on a narrative format. And now there is the RTS portion of the game, which is probably one of the most engaging and immersive experiences that I've had in a game like this, and due to it being very beginner friendly, this makes this necessary portion of the game very accessible to RTS fans and newcomers. You control the 13 protagonists, each in their own Sentinels, in an all-out war against the Kaiju, an interdimensional alien menace, don't quote me on that seeks to destroy Tokyo's various Aegis terminals in order to bring entire sectors of the country to ruin. Each Sentinel has their own attack, such as flare rockets that deal damage over time and a blast radius, Gatling guns, and even some melee attacks. There are even movement properties exclusive to certain Sentinel models, such as being able to fly in order to travel long distances on the map in a short period of time, or just they walk, and they sometimes take a while to reach their destination, which can cost you precious time as the enemy slowly advances forward. There is a lot of variety in each character's abilities that provide plenty of strategic ways to complete your mission, be it defeating a set number of waves of kaiju, with those also having their own attacks, movements, and defense properties, or just stalling the enemy attack long enough for the terminal's Aegis rim to activate in order to completely wipe out every kaiju in the immediate section. Completing these segments, called Destruction by the way, will unlock more of the characters' branching stories in Remembrance, as it all slowly leads up to the exact point in time where Destruction mode takes place. So be sure to take the time to kick some kaiju ass to eventually learn the complete picture of the story. This game pretty much has something for everybody. An engaging story full of great narrative choice for narrative adventure fans, an easy to pick up but nonetheless challenging RTS segment for strategy fans, and plenty of overall sci-fi goodness for that crowd. I beg you, please don't look past 13 Sentinels. It's such a great game that I honestly feel it can even catch the attention of those not into anime, mecha, RTS games, whatever. I'm confident you'll find something to love with this one. Please, if you see it, be it on sale, it's even worth full price. Pick it up. You're gonna have a great time. Okay, come on. We all knew this was going to be on the list. I'm the Friday Night Yakuza guy on this channel. If you run into me anywhere and talk games with me, you bet your ass I'm going to bring up the Yakuza games. Nobody will ever be safe from me recommending this series. Nobody! So let me tell you a bit about this one. Yakuza Like a Dragon, but we'll call it Yakuza 7 just to make it a little easier, is the 8th mainline entry in the long-running Yakuza franchise by Sega-owned developer Ryuga Gotoku Studio, or RGG Studio, you know, if you don't feel like speaking Japanese. Where instead of everybody's favorite uncle Kazuma Kiryu, the torch is passed on to series newcomer Ichiban Kasuga, a bottom-ranking Yakuza member of the Arakawa family of the Tojo clan, local himbo, and Dragon Quest enthusiast. Oh man, you gotta believe I was really happy about that one. And I gotta take a second to mention that I can't say enough how much I love Ichiban as a character, and not because I relate to him as a massive Dragon Quest fan myself. I genuinely think the guy is an enjoyable protagonist and completely relatable. He has a heart of gold and dreams of being a hero, even if he can be a bit hot-headed at times. But I'm sorry, I digress. Let's get back on track. As Ichiban, you are tossed into prison after you take the fall for a murder of a member in one of the more renowned Tojo clan families by the request of Ichiban's hero and father figure, Arakawa. Standard Yakuza fare, really. After an 18-year sentence, Ichiban finds that life he knew in Kamurocho has changed tremendously, especially learning that the Arakawa family he knew and loved has now been absorbed into the dreaded Omi Alliance.
Boo! You stink!
Searching for answers, he finds Arakawa in the middle of a business meeting and is betrayed by getting shot and left for dead somewhere in Yokohama. Now feeling that he's hit rock bottom, he looks to get back on his feet, helping all that he can as he searches for answers with the help of new friends Namba, a homeless ex-nurse, Adachi, an ex-cop, and Saiko, owner of a bar, as they all get involved in a much bigger power struggle plot between the Chinese Mafia, Korean Mafia, and the Yakuza themselves. Now, Yakuza 7 takes a different approach to gameplay compared to the previous games by being a turn-based RPG instead of a brawler. And the reason for that is because Yakuza 7 is said to be a love letter to Dragon Quest as shown by its various name drops. It has a job system, character/job specific weapons, even down to the in-battle flavor text and little character sprites on the loading screen. Like, look at this is cute! I love it! And while I've not found it yet at the time of writing this, there is even a nod to the series staple gag, the Puff Puff. And that sounds like it's gonna be an experience, so I hope I find it. There's a trophy for it and I kinda want it. Yakuza 7 does take a lot of cues from Dragon Quest, but it keeps the usual zany action and gripping crime drama that the series is known for. From, wacky minigames, diaper Yakuza men that you have to fight. Seriously, how many games in this series has this? And honestly, it just truly feels like a match made in heaven. I've just been having a blast with this game and can even say that this is the best entry to date, as I've had plenty of laughs with the character dynamics, quirky writings, and hilarious side characters.
Think about is getting to the hospital, so I shake off Mika-chan and the bouncers and slip through the door, bubbles popping the whole way.
Would you tell me how to get to the station?
What nonsense you speaking?
Would you tell me how to get to the station?
Go straight and turn right. Go, go, go. Go your way. And believe in yourself.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
You are welcome.
As well as getting my heartstrings pulled with a good handful of the game's sub-stories, and even the bar links feature where Ichiban can grow closer with his party as well as improve his personality stats. These are all great additions to the franchise, and I want to see more as it goes forward. And as I mentioned, there's plenty of minigames, especially some new ones that are to the series, such as can collecting, or trying not to fall asleep in a movie theater, and even taking tests. Like, I didn't expect to have fun taking a test in a video game. But I did, and I'm actually learning some shit from it, so that's kinda cool. There's just so much to do within this game that you'll be engrossed for hours on end. So I really hope you give this one a shot. So what do you say? Let's go level up.
Let's go level up.
Before I get to my 2020 Game of the Year, I'd like to show a few games that I would really love to put on my list, but for a variety of reasons, I just can't. I still, however, wanted to give them a chance to shine in the spotlight, so let's go over them for a bit. Here are my honorable mentions for 2020.
That's fucked up. That's the stupidest rule I've ever heard. I'll kill you!
Your sucking time!
And very, 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 very alone.
ever played a game so addicting that no matter your results, it just makes you say, one more game, even though you said it 30 games ago? Well, it's been a long time since I felt that. At least that is until Supergiant's latest title, Hades, entered my life. Hades is another roguelike dungeon crawler, similar to games like The Binding of Isaac and the earlier list entry Going Under, where every run you go on will not be the exact same, be it room order, the types of enemies you fight, rewards you'll find such as gems, boons, weapon upgrades, health upgrades, or even a nice little shop where you just hope, Karen, please, just have a year. I only have 7 HP left and 1 death to fight, and it's only half for that. Now, it's time to talk about the story, which I will try to make as vague as possible to avoid giving anything major away, because I really want you to support this game and its dev team, because they're amazing people and just put out phenomenal work. Anyways, you play as Zagreus, a witty and rebellious demigod with a rather calm and collected demeanor, trying to climb his way out of the underworld so he can reach the surface and join his various cousins and other family on Mount Olympus. This game just oozes charm, with plenty of its writing being very snappy and memorable, creating plenty of laughable moments with Zagreus' commentary throughout his runs, or even with conversation with the many members of the House of Hades. But it also knows when to turn up the tension whenever Hades and Zagreus converse and banter with each other, or mellow things out with the more respectful and understanding tone between Zagreus and his mother Nyx, with the writing being supported by a stellar voice cast that brings these various lines to life. Every conversation, minor passing thought, or bit of flavor text to observing a certain part of the world you're in is completely believable and helps keep your immersion. So many little things can help keep that nice connection between you and Zagreus, and it even goes a bit further because sometimes when you die, and trust me, that will happen a lot, Hades likes being a bit of a smartass towards your losses.
Oh, tough luck.
Just shut up, Dad, I'll show you! And oh man, don't get me started on this prick. But throughout your journey and various losses, you'll gain darkness from some chambers that you can spend at the Mirror of Night set up within Zagreus' room. With the mirror, you can gain a variety of perks that'll assist you on your escape, such as starting life total, damage buff for striking enemies from behind, increasing the chance to receive higher tiered boons from the various gods that'll give you their blessings, and the most important perk, Death Defiance, which gives you another chance in your fight and refills your health to 50%. And I kid you not, you will need it. Also at your disposal are keepsakes that you earn by sharing a gift called Nectar with the residents of House Hades. Each come with their own set of benefits on top of the ones you gain from the mirror. And not to mention, when you share Nectar, you get to learn a little bit more about them, so it's actually worth spending and figuring it out, even if you don't really care for it. Yes, and even give it to Dad. I won't, though. Welcome. Now, we get to the Infernal Arms. These are the 6 different weapons that you can unlock with chthonic keys that you can also collect in your run, and each weapon has a unique playstyle between them, all to suit a player's needs. Do you like a good hack and slash? Go for Stygius the Blade. Want to keep your distance? The Spear of Varatha. Sorry if I'm pronouncing some of these names wrong. I'm not really smart with Greek names sometimes. Or maybe even the bow. I'm gonna butcher this. Kuronaut. Nonetheless, it has your back. Want to feel like Goofy from Kingdom Hearts with a dose of Captain America? The Shield Aegis, now I know how to pronounce that one, is the weapon for you. How about just wanting to punch the fuck out of someone? Go for the gauntlets, Malphon. And then there's my personal favorite. When you just want to shoot your way up to the surface and not have a care in the world. Just pick up the railgun Exegriff and wreak havoc upon the underworld. There are just so many ways to play here. With the upgrades that you can unlock with Titan Blood, even the least experienced of players with this genre of game will find a playstyle that suits them. Especially when you throw in the boons from the many gods of Olympus. Personally, my favorite is Doom Boon, but couldn't get that one when I was grabbing footage. But Artemis had my back with plenty of crit chances though, so I love her to death. Artemis for life. Each run is chock full of ways to overcome your many adversaries and finally make your escape. And hey, even if you die, just shake it off and give it another go. You'll get them next time. Just make sure you give Cerberus a good petting beforehand. And you know, here's one more important thing about Hades. If you have a friend that's taking the journey with you, share some tips, some strategies, anything with each other. maybe even some potential boon combos. I do that a lot on Discord with one of my closest friends. You never know, you might find a new strategy or combo for your own runs, because I wholeheartedly feel this game is best played when you're discussing your personal experiences with other gamers in the gaming community. It's a little short and sweet, but that's why I say Hades is my personal game of the year for 2020. And that's it, folks. That's my top 15 games for the year 2020. I'm sure I had some spicy takes with a few slots, so feel free to leave a comment saying what games you did like throughout the year. Hell, tell your friends even. I always appreciate other opinions as long as you're kind and respectful. I really do hope I managed to entertain you with my video, and I hope you have a fantastic 2021. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I do, especially with such great games that we already have slated to come out, like Little Nightmares 2, or even Persona 5 Strikers. I've been looking forward to that one. Like, I know it's been out in Japan for like over a year now, but this is still something to be very excited for. So, hey, keep being good people, and let's do everything in our power to make this a banger of a year. You take care. Hey everyone, this is Ty, and welcome to the End Slate. Seriously, big thanks if you made it all the way to the end of this video. This is the first time I actually did something along the forms of a review type game, like kind of thing, and I know it comes off as very amateurish because I am an amateur. This is the first time I've actually done something on a script and that I worked really hard for, even though the end results to me pales in comparison to so many other YouTubers out there. But I try to keep in my own style. I try to be as much as myself. And yeah, I stumble a few times in my lines reading my script. You probably heard that. It happens. Maybe as time goes on, I make more scripted videos like this, be it a top 10 list or a video essay, I'll actually, get a little better with stumbling, because I don't want to keep stumbling in these, but I also don't want to spend like days upon days re-recording some of these because I'm stumbling or I'm tripping over my words, because we're going to be here forever. And I really wanted to get this video out because, videos like this kind of have a bit of a life, have like a shelf life in my eyes. Like, yeah, who would care about a video about someone's top 2020 games when we're already like 3 months deep into 2021, where people are already talking about other games that are out, like Scott Pilgrim, which will have a re-release in this month, and Little Nightmares 2, a Bravely Default 2, etc., etc. Like, no one will watch that, and it's not like I did it to make sure people would watch it. I did it for purely the fun of it. And I just want to say thank you for if you actually did take the time to listen. And I know I'm rambling here, but that's just kind of how it goes. I'm doing this End Slate unscripted because I think End Slates are supposed to be unscripted. I mean, it feels like something that a general afterthought that you say after, recording the video and editing it and all that other stuff. But once again, thank you, and I really hope you had a great 2020. Hope you did enjoy the video, as amateurish as it was, and I hope to see you guys in my future videos or streams or whatever else this channel has planned going on throughout the year, or even on another project that I will not announce just yet. Stay tuned on that one. I probably won't be through this. I mean, I might announce it through this channel, I don't know. But hey, it's how it goes. But have a good 2021. Make it the best that you can, because in the end, it is all about how you handle the year. So, take care. Thanks for watching, and be good people still.